In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Hello and regards. This is Muhammad Suleiman Ahmadzai, here with a new session for you, my friends. Alright, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Today's lesson with you is about the Start menu, specifically the Start menu. Overall, we will work with the Start menu along with all its settings and configurations. Alright. We will be working on the Start menu related to Windows 10. Of course, we refer to it as the Start button, and as soon as you click on the Start button, the Start menu opens, which is the topic of our lesson today. First, I'll introduce the interface of the Start menu to you. Then we'll move forward. Try to focus on this part of the Start menu, which we will teach you as the Start. Just when you bring the cursor over, even if you click up here, you'll see that a list opens under the name Start, and if you just hover the mouse over it, that is, just move the mouse over them, hover is spelled like this. Open on hover. This means that if the mouse pointer just passes over it, without needing to click, the same list will open, but it will remember the list by your name. It's called Start. Alright, after this, we have another section for you. This other section is called the App List. App List, which means application list. After the App List, we call this section on the right side the App Categories. App Categories, in terms of design and structure. Windows 7 only had an app list, but Windows 8, only had an app category. On the screen, it only showed the applications and didn't show the Start menu that much. But if you've seen Windows 10, it's a combination of both. It shows us both the app list and the app categories. Whichever is easier for us, or whichever design we're more comfortable with, we use that one. Alright, after the section called App List and App Categories, here we try to remember the applications for it. Application Categories, Program Categories. Because here, we have programs that are not default applications. What do we do with the applications here? We pin them or attach them from inside the app list. When we pin or attach applications here, after that, these applications appear because what do they call this area here? They call it app groups. But what kind of groups? Groups where applications have been pinned or attached in their section. So, we pin the applications here. We pin them, and then we create groups for them, which, as you can see here, are called group titles. Group titles. Each group has a title, just like us. For example, in this section where we've placed the Office applications, we might call it Microsoft Office 2024, or add-on apps, or maybe Online Explorer apps, or system apps. So these are group titles, which are the names we assign ourselves. As soon as you click on this section, what do you do with that group or that category? You give it a name. If not, and you just clicked on it, you delete them. What happens to that section? It just gets deleted. Try to see how we bring the applications here for you. Before we learn how to pin or attach applications here, let's first talk about the size of the Start menu. Look, the Start menu is not the same size on every computer. You see, on some computers it's shorter, the width is less, and on some computers it's bigger. This is because if we want to adjust its height and length. When we bring the mouse pointer to the top part here, it changes to a double arrow, like a two-headed arrow. This is the mode it switches to. If we click and drag the pointer, you'll see that we can adjust the height of the Start menu. We can resize it or customize it. Its minimum height is this much, and its maximum height is up to here. What can you do? You can set it to whatever size you want. In the same way, you can also adjust its width when you move to the edge here. As you move, the double arrow appears for you. If you select the double-headed arrow, you can also set the width of the Start menu. Its minimum width is this much, and its maximum width. What can we do with it? We can set it to this size. Alright, after adjusting the size of the Start menu, as we mentioned, these applications are not here by default. We have to bring them here ourselves. Any application we want to add can be found in the App List section here. What can we do with them? We can bring them from here. Alright, before that, let me tell you something else about the App List. Then we'll move on to the App Category section. Try to focus on the Start section, the App List section, and the part that's divided into 3 sections overall. You can see it. There's the Start section, the App List, and the App Category. First, try to check the Start section. On some computers, here you only have the user profile. For example, my user profile is Suleiman Ahmadzai. That's my name. It shows my picture. As soon as you click on this, some options will appear. I'll explain them to you later, and one of them is the power button. These two are always here. No matter which computer you turn on, you'll definitely see these two. But between these two, sometimes you'll see things like settings or some other folders. On some computers, you see 5 folders, on others 6, and on some, like mine, you only see 1 folder. So, how do they add or remove these? Settings. Why are there fewer on some computers? Why are there more on some computers? We said that by default, in Start, these two can't be disabled. One is your user profile, and the other is the power button. These buttons can't be turned off. They're essential on any computer. But the folders in between these two can be turned on or off. Now, in the power section, there were these 3 buttons, which yesterday I mentioned that we can turn the computer off and on in 3 minutes. I explained these, and at the top, when we click on the user profile. Yesterday, I told you here how many accounts we have. Right now, my own account is the administrator account, and we also created another account called user, the student's accounts, and here we also have sign out. Yesterday, I also explained to you the difference between sign out and the switch user, and what distinctions exist between them. What do logs do? For example, you're working on a page. Next time, you want to leave this page. You want to go somewhere and you don't want your computer screen to stay open, or someone might mess with it while your phone is left on the desk. You go up to a certain point. You're working in the office. Sometimes your phone screen locks so that no one can grab your phone while you're away. The screen should be locked. Just like when you click on this. What happens directly with the lock screen? It gets locked. If you want to get back in, or if someone else tries to use it, it will ask for your password. When you click on Change Account Settings, it takes you to the Computer Settings section, and for us, what does it do? Here, we have something called User Account or Account Settings, and again in the Control Panel, when we get to the Settings section and reach the Accounts part, how exactly is an account created? How do you change the user profile? How do you sign in? How do you change your name? How do you create another account? And so on and so forth. How do you set a password and all of that? We'll cover all of it together in that section. Alright, now let's move on. We mentioned the folders where we can add, remove, or adjust things. Try to go to Settings once you're in Settings. Here, you'll see something called Personalize. In this section, we have something called Start. The Start section, these are the settings related to the Start menu. Or, in other words, the place that's called Start. Some students ask, Teacher, isn't it you who sometimes only sees these 2 options here? One of them is the user profile, so let's find settings from there. There are many different ways to access settings. Settings isn't limited to just one place where we can find it. If by any chance it was activated from here, we can go to the Start menu and look for it under the letter S. We have settings. Sometimes, if we right-click and select Pin to Start menu, then later you can also open it from the Start menu. But in the Start menu, which section did we need? Personalization. So if there's no problem, just right-click. Let's go straight to Personalize. From here, we can easily go to the Start section or the same settings I wanted to access. Alright, here for example, Shake It First for us. Here's the section where we want to make changes related to the Start. Again, this part is related to the Start menu. In the Start section, it's right here in this part. You can click here to choose which folders appear or don't appear in the Start. From here, there are several folders available. First, at the bottom, you see Get Help, which is an information section. Whenever you want to get information about Start in Settings, you just click. Get Help provides you with information. Especially if you're connected to the internet, you'll see detailed information there. Only Settings is active, the rest are all inactive. If I deactivate that Settings option once, you'll see in the Start menu that only our user profile and the power button are there. It doesn't show anything else. Alright, let's go back again. We say no. We want all of them to be enabled. Look, we want the File Explorer folder. There was also the Settings folder. The Documents, Downloads, Music, Pictures, Videos, Network, and Personal folders. I'm telling you all of them. What should it show? Here, if we count in the Start menu, try to see how many other folders we have between the Power button and our User Profile button that are also displayed. After this, whenever you come to the Start menu, you'll see them like this. Well, each of these folders is also shown in other different places. For example, try to see these folders in File Explorer. When we go there, you'll see that all of them are present here. The Desktop folder, Downloads, Documents, Pictures, and various other folders. It also shows us other folders. So some people say, well, let it be here too so we can access it from here. But for me, I don't like clutter in my Start menu. It's a personal thing. Meaning, everyone can personalize this according to their own taste. Personally, I just want there to be no clutter here at all. Or just have the user profile, or at most, a settings option among them. I usually disable most of them. I say, just have that settings option there and don't show the rest. So, this part was about the Start menu. It just shows these 3 items, and that's it. After the Start menu, we talked about this other section called the App List. Our applications are always listed here, and they're sorted alphabetically, starting from the letter here with Recam all the way to the letter Z here, sorted for us. Above the letter, we also have some other things called Most Used Apps, and there might be another category called Recently Added Apps or the latest programs that have been installed. Here, there are two categories again, Most Used Apps, which are the apps we've usually opened and used most often. They are shown here and in the Most Recent Install or Recent Apps or Recently Added Apps section. There, we might have another folder that shows the latest programs installed on our computer. These two can also be deactivated. You can choose to have none or have them, but from here, from the letter A to the end, it shows them by default. Sometimes, for example, if we need a program, based on its first letter, we have to guess where to find it. For example, if we need Word and we know Word starts with W, we go to the letter W and from here we can see that we can open it. Alright, here you'll notice we also have applications. Some of them are folders too, although it's pretty clear from the rules that the yellow ones are folders and the rest are applications. But even if you can't tell otherwise, there's always a down arrow in front of these folders. The down arrow indicates that if we don't see a down arrow in front of something, it means it's a software itself. If I click on it, that software will open for us. But if there's a down arrow in front of it, it means it has a drop-down, which means it's a folder. So when we click on it, whatever applications are inside it, it will expand or collapse that list for us. That is, it opens and closes, shows and hides the contents. Right? These are list items, they're folders. If, for example, we don't see anything in front of WhatsApp, it means it's not a folder, it's just an application, and clicking on it will only open the app. But if we click on this one, a list should open up for us, and inside that list, we'll see various other items as well. So by default, these are folders and these are applications. Alright, try to remember that we have categories. For example, if you want to easily find a category, there's another way to do it as well. At the top, up here, it says Most Used. When I click on it, above it, U. Try this recommendation. It shows us the alphabetical sorting based on the alphabet. It displays some letters more clearly and some letters more faintly. The letters that are shown clearly mean that we currently have applications in those categories, and the letters that are a bit faded mean that we don't have any installed applications in those categories at the moment. For example, it means that we don't have any software under the letter H right now. But for instance, let's see what we have under the letter M, or what we have under the letter W. As soon as you click, it opens up the W category here for us and shows the items that start with the letter W, or rather, with the letter M. You see, it shows the things that start with the letter M, like Mail, Map, Messenger, and so on. So, whichever category we want to filter, we can easily find it. What's the easy way to do it? You don't need to. Most students, every time they want to filter, they come up to the top section. But actually, you just need to click here. It's not necessary to only click right here, at the top. You can click anywhere on the app list above the titles. It doesn't matter where. For example, here's my category, above its titles. When I click, people move to the sort section. If I click this, I'll try to show you the category at the top for those that start with this letter. Alright, now let's see what we have here. It's related to the app list. Here we mentioned that sometimes there's a folder called Most Used Apps or another folder called Most Recently Added Apps. It doesn't show those. It starts directly from this category. On some computers, this might be the reason. So let's go back again. We go to the Personalize section, and here we open the section on Things. We went to the section called Theme. We come to Personalize. We open the taskbar settings. Here, I explain the initial part to you. Choose which folders appear on Start. Now I'll explain these settings for you. Try to read the first setting, which is Show More Tiles on Start. It shows up in the Start menu. This reduces the spacing between these gaps a lot. These spaces that are between the vertical groups, if we enable that, the gaps get a bit wider. You can see the space between them. These gaps become almost an inch wide and make the spaces look really big. Some people actually like this setup, but it's not really necessary. We turn these off, and by doing it twice, we really reduce the spacing. So now the gaps are reduced again. Alright, as we mentioned earlier about the Start folder, it doesn't show two folders. One is this folder called Show Recently Added and Show Most Used Apps. But before that, there's something else called Show App List. We can tell it not to show the app list at all. Just show the app categories section. If we turn it off, from now on, the Start menu will only show the app categories. It won't show the app list. Meaning, it's there, but we can't see it. For example, if we want to see it, we can do this. For example, we click here. We click on this section. Then it shows the app list. If I select the top option, it shows us the pin type, or in other words, the app category, Whether it's the app list or the app category, which one it is. Meaning, unlike before, it doesn't show both of them at the same time. So we either have to view the app category at one time or the app list at another time. When we click on the 9, the app category opens. Then we can choose ourselves whether we want to see the app list or the app category. But if we activate the game, it shows us both at the same time. Alright, next we have something called Show Recently Added. If we, for example, turn this off, here if there is a folder, it will show a folder, and since right now we don't have any recently installed applications, meaning when we install something, another category will appear here with that name. Most recently added means it shows you the apps that you have recently installed. Don't look at the bottom, it will show up here at the top. For now, since there aren't any programs of that type installed, it doesn't show the category itself. We also have another category above called Most Used. If we don't want the recently used apps to be shown, we can tell it, for example, not to show this, or we can just say don't show it. The same goes for the most recently installed apps. You can choose not to show them. If something similar is started directly from here, it won't show the most used apps anymore. It also won't show the most recently installed app. Well, I'll leave these on because they make things a bit easier for us. If I'm looking for an app, it's easier to find it from here than to scroll all the way down to the letter W. Right, here in this section, we have Show Suggestions. Okay, it goes to Start. Sometimes, when you're connected to the internet, you'll see that it shows suggested icons when you come here. Later, it might suggest that you download, for example, Spotify, or Amazon Prime, or Netflix, or some other app. That's what it does. That's the feature it provides. It gives you some online suggestions. If you turn it off, it won't show that and the browser won't appear. Occasionally, you need to be connected to the internet. The second thing is, for example, it's not like these notifications are sent to you every moment or every minute. It's not that frequent. It only does it when it's making suggestions. There's another thing called Use Full Screen app. What is Use Full Screen? When we select these, it always shows the Start menu in full screen mode. Just like it used to show in Windows 8. It's almost the same as that. So, when we turn this on, Use Full Screen displays it for us just like Windows 8. Every time we click on the Start menu, it opens in full screen, and if you turn it off, it goes back to the regular, shorter, and resizable form. So, we can adjust it ourselves. For example, we can set the width and height of the Start menu. We can choose what size it should be. You see, it displays in full screen just like Windows 8. Here, for now, it shows us this way. If we want to, we can also have it show us a list of several applications or app categories. It displays the app list for you in the form of an app list. Or it can be shown as app categories. It displays it as app categories. If we don't want it like this at all, we can just press the escape key. I exit from there, and we turn these off so it doesn't display in full screen. Alright, there's another thing called Show Recently Opened Items. Where? Inside File Explorer. File Explorer has a folder. It opens from there. It's here as well. And in the Start menu, it's also in the Depth section. It's also in the F category. So, when we open File Explorer. In this section, there's something called Recent Files. It shows us the last opened files and the last opened applications in this list. And if we don't want it to show them, what can we do? We can turn these off. Whenever you go into File Explorer, it won't show anything here anymore. If we turn it on, it will show them. For now, if we go here, it tells us there's a category, but since you haven't opened anything yet, it doesn't show anything. After that, for example, I came here and opened a photo. Alright, so we open just these two things. Now if we go here, for example, and then go to the D drive, let's open a photo here. Or the second option that we opened. Now if we go here, it shows you the most recent things that were opened. So these are listed a bit. It shows them again. If it's turned off, it won't show them. And I already told you which things we want to have in the Start menu and which things we don't. The Help section gives you information, and there's also the Give Us Feedback section. You can always, for example, give Microsoft feedback about these options. These features work properly. It doesn't. That's good. If you have any suggestions for them, you can give feedback. So that's it for the Start settings. What do we have after this section? We have the app category listing. First, as I said, the applications aren't available here. So how did they show up here? Here, any application you need, you can just search for it easily from here. You right-click, and then you can choose Pin to Start or Pin to Taskbar. In both cases, you can bring it up for yourself. For example, let's say I unpin Access once. It thinks the Access application isn't there. But we need Access. This is our Access right here. We look for the letter K. We right-click on Microsoft Access. If we tell it Pin to Start, this is what happens for us. It brings it up in the Start menu. It goes into the App Category section, but if I go to the More section and select Pin to Taskbar, then it pins it to the taskbar for us, so we can always have it on the taskbar. And if we want to unpin it from the taskbar later, we can do that too. We right-click, select Unpin from Taskbar, although we can do the same thing from here as well. We right-click, go to More, and select Unpin from Taskbar. Similarly, from the Start menu, we can either right-click on it and select Unpin from Start menu, or right here, right-click on it and choose Unpin from Start menu. Pin itself means to attach or pin something in English. You can see that the pin icon is also shown there. After you pin an application there, you can also remove it later. Try to notice what happens when we right-click on something. I explained this menu to you yesterday in the interface section. What is its name? It's called the Properties menu, and inside the Properties menu, depending on the application, sometimes there are more or fewer options. In some applications, it's shorter, and in others, it's different. Overall, it shows the settings for that specific application. So, when we right-click, Unpin, as we said, removes it from the Start menu, so it takes it out of the App category. In the Resize section, we can set its size. These sizes are available for some applications, and for others, there are only 2 options available. Small and medium are available for some apps, and for others, there are 3 or 4 options. It depends on the application. For example, in Amazon Prime, if I right-click and go to the Resize section, you'll see I have 4 options. If we choose Small, it will display the item in a small size. If we select it, Medium will make it medium-sized. The previous size was Wide, and we can choose Wide as well. We can even select a larger size than that. Let's say it's called Large. We say no. For example, if it's wide, it looks better, so the size is up to us. But in some applications, we've seen that there are only 2 options. We can either choose Small or select the previous size called Medium. So, in the Resize section, depending on the application, sometimes it shows 4 options and sometimes it shows 2. Most applications where this feature is more prominent, like Netflix, Spotify, and other websites, have it too. For those, it usually shows 4 options. For simpler applications, it usually shows 2 options. Alright, that was the function of Pin, and that was the function of Resize. Now we have another function called More. The Pin option in the taskbar, you can also pin the taskbar from here, right? You can pin it, and it appears right here. If we don't want it, then we bring up More. We select Unpin from taskbar. For example, right now we've logged in through an administrator account. Any application we open will launch with full privileges. But sometimes, we might have logged in through a user account, or we might be logged in as a regular user or with a limited account. That is, through an account with restricted privileges. Still, if we want to open an application as an admin, we can tell it to run as administrator. Alright, what else do we have? After the More section, here we have another option called Open File Location. For example, if we want to open the source of any program, to see where it's installed, every software is installed in a specific folder at a certain address. If we want to find it, we just need to right-click on that program. We go to the More section. When you click on Open File Location, it shows us something. What does it show? It shows the installation address, where it's installed. It gives you the full address. This PC, C drive, program data, Microsoft, Windows. It's registered here. So, just like this, it shows us the address of every shortcut, where, for example, that file is, or where the folder is, or for example, where programs like Word or WordPad are located. We go and click here, Open File Location. It shows us where the main address is, accessories, start menu, and so on and so forth. So, Uncle, it shows us its flag. Alright, the last option is uninstall. We can do this from here. From here, you can also bring up a program for someone, or remove one from the computer. You can't just right-click on it and say delete, or right-click and, for example, delete it from the desktop or from somewhere else by right-clicking. Because, for example, if you try to delete the Word program, it won't actually get deleted. In reality, only its shortcut or icon gets deleted from a place. If at any time we want to remove any antivirus software or anything else that's installed on our computer, there are two ways to do it. One way is to do it through the Start menu, but its actual location is in the Control panel or in Settings. When we go there, there's a section called Programs and Features. Whether you go through Control panel or Settings, you end up at the same place. You select an application there and you can either choose, change, or uninstall for it. For example, if you click Uninstall, it gets removed. Well, for now, you can also do this directly from the Start menu, which makes things easier for us. You go to the Start menu, and for any application you don't need, what do? Uninstall. Even in the app category, if you right-click on an application you don't need and select Uninstall, what happens? It gets removed and is completely deleted from your computer. If you need it again, what should you do? You should install it. Alright, after this menu I mentioned to you. As I said, try to keep in mind that it depends on the program. For example, when you click on Calculator, besides the 4 options I mentioned, there are other things too. For instance, you can tell it to launch the calculator, but in its standard mode, or show it in scientific mode, and so on. It shows you the options available within them. So, how can we move applications from one place to another? For example, let's say I want access here. You select access, and wherever you want it to be, you just mark it like this. If you want it higher up, or for example, if you want it to be lower down, or in this section, what can you do? You can change its position. The next topic is this top section I mentioned, which is called the group title. Group title or category title. These are the titles of your groups or your categories. Here, simply by clicking, you can adjust these spaces. Just click here and name it social apps or whatever category you want. You can give it any other name. Here, for example, I'll name it Microsoft 2024, and I can do the same for each of them. For example, if you want to give a title to a category here, you need to leave a space. If it's stuck right next to it, you can't do this. That means the whole thing will be considered as one group. In this example, here is a group. We want these to be included in that group as well. For example, we've named it, we've given a title to a group. Then you make these as well, attached to this content, so that the whole thing is one group. If these two belong to one group, but these two belong to another group, again, we move it a bit lower so that a space is created above for the title of that group. So what do you do then? You name it like this. If you don't want any name and just want it to be spaced out, that's fine for now. But we don't want to give it a separate name. We can also show it like this. When we hover over certain things, a small window appears. This is called a screen tip, which I mentioned yesterday in the interface section and other parts as well. Alright, that was the lesson about the Start menu. It's complete with you. We also worked on the Start section. I also explained the app list section to you. I also explained the category section, or app category, to you. We right-click. We also thoroughly covered the Properties menu, resizing the Start menu, changing its position, installing and uninstalling, pinning applications inside categories, inside the Start menu, and on the taskbar, and then unpinning them. We went through all of that together. That was the lesson about the Start menu. Next time, we'll work on the taskbar together. And finally, dear friends, I kindly ask that if you found these videos helpful, please like the videos to support us and help the channel grow, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next sessions. Goodbye.